Good afternoon, everyone. This is Thank Us Later, a podcast / webinar series that touches on everything cash flow for businesses. We have a very, very special guest for this episode titled Make It Happen, Increase Your Restaurant Profits Now. With us today, we've got Debbi Andrews. Debbi's a food and beverage strategist from the Orlando, Florida area, and we are super fired up to talk to her. How you doing, Debbi?
Good, how are you?
I'm doing well. First question, and one that I'm really curious about. What exactly is a food and beverage strategist?
Basically, what a food and beverage strategist is a person who comes in and analyzes every piece of a business of a restaurant, small, medium size, to find out how to maximize profitability with already the tools that you have working right now. So I go in and I kind of look at all your different elements and see where I can help you save or where things need to be cut.
Wow. How long have you been in the restaurant industry for?
I've been in the restaurant industry since I was 17, so a little over 30 years.
Wow. That's fantastic. Well, all right, so when you're going in and you're working with the restaurant owner, are you working with like chains, big franchises? Are you working with mom and pops, single locations? How big of a scale do you look at?
Basically, I stay with mom and pops, or small chains, maybe some that own anything under 10 restaurants. Each restaurant has to have its own analysis done because each location has different pros and cons to it, basically. So I think that the owner-operator is where I can save the most because, no disrespect to chefs, but chefs who run restaurants don't understand always the operational side of it, and they look at their menu, and that's where I can help them.
That makes sense. All right, walk us through it. All right, so you're just walking into a restaurant. I'm the owner. I sit down. What's the process? What's the due diligence process look like? What do you exactly focus on when you're there? So any restaurant owners that see this and want to really reduce their cost and increase their cash flow post-pandemic, walk them through that process.
Well, first thing is the phone, right? So first thing we do is we have either a phone call or a Zoom call on what they're looking for. What's the need? Do they need just an overall large view, or are they focused on one element of the business? Say they're working on to go and it's only one element. So what I do is I ask them for their back of the house paperwork for the last 30 days, their inventory, what they've ordered in, as well as what menu items have sold. Now, mom and pops don't always have that on the POS systems, on their point of sale systems. So sometimes you have to go back through and go the hard way and give them a little bit of time to be able to figure out what they're actually selling and not selling. And then I kind of need them, if they don't, I need like a 2-week waste sheet. What are they throwing away? What are they getting rid of? And then I ask them for their staffing, what their hours are, and then if they have liquor, their liquor consumption based on dollars amount, as well as if they have the individual portions of what was sold and what they bring into the business. So a lot of inventory, a lot of paperwork. So all the back of the office paperwork I need to see in order to look at every element of it. And really, I ask them to trust me enough to walk in. It's all confidential. I'm not sharing their information with anybody else. Basically, I'm taking, and at the end, most of the time, it organizes them on how to keep up with their dollars and cents. So when I do a recheck in 3 months, all they have to do is pull a report, and they can actually see what's working. So a lot of it comes into two-sided. So when I leave them, they are extremely organized on how to find the information quickly to see if something's not working for them.
That makes sense. What do you find in your experience, especially looking at the smaller restaurants with a couple locations? What do you find is one of the largest pain points when you go in? Is it margins? Is it waste? Is it employee theft? What are the most common things that you typically will see that need to be corrected? And it's almost you come in with the cape on, ready to come in and save the day.
Honestly, menus. So menu items. So sometimes locations have too many menu items, and they have a menu item that may sell 1 a week or anything under 5 a week is pretty much, if the ingredients are different from anything else on the menu, it's not worth it. So that's where it's a mixture of waste and sales with that menu. Taking the parameters and seeing if the price per is too high or too low. So if you have 19 cheeseburgers on there, one cheeseburger that's ordered once, maybe 3 times a week, has a special ingredient, and you have to order that ingredient in fresh. It can't go in the backup. You have to order it fresh. It only has a 7-day shelf life, and then it dies. That's got to go. You're wasting profitability right there on that one menu item. Also looking across the menu to see how much you use all the items. So when you go into, even if you stick with a burger joint because they're kind of easy to play with, are you utilizing all those? Are your side dishes, you know, user friendly, but they don't go to waste? If you're doing a side of coleslaw, how much coleslaw are you making and how many are you selling? Because we know coleslaw has about a 5-day shelf life and then it's gone. So plus when you're doing it, are you ordering the items correctly to help that menu profitability? Are you selling a $15 hamburger but not seeing the profits on it, instead of selling a $12 hamburger with maximum profitability because it's based on the menus?
That makes sense. Are margins in general very small profit margins when you're dealing with restaurants?
Actually not, depending on, well, yes, you make probably 13 cents on the dollar as actual profits when you're done, because staffing. It depends on how much you pay yourself. As an owner-operator, you want to make sure that you have enough in your bank account to cover your bills as well. So it depends on where you pay yourself and if you overpay a manager. If you're an owner-operator and you've decided that you don't want to be in there and if you pay that manager too much, it's going to kill your line. And it's not necessarily the best for business. Yes, of course, well, now with post-pandemic, you really need to be in that operation, because if you mess up one order, you're done. People are just going to waste. They're not going to do it again. They're not going to give you the second shot because there's so many other restaurants out there that are fighting for the business and doing it right. So I really think that's the biggest piece right now.
That makes a lot of sense. Is there a specific theme that you specialize in, whether it's American, I don't know, is it, or can you help with any kind of menu, Thai menu,
any kind of menu, right? I can do any kind of menu. All I need is the ingredients of the menu, as well as I can do any bar, because the bars are the same situation. Are you maximizing your liquor cost with your mixes? Are you watching your bartenders? Are they pouring? Are they free pouring? Are they giving away drinks? Are they doing cash sales and not seeing it? Yeah, there's a lot of ways to increase profitability without changing anything except your strategy.
That's huge. That's huge, because I think a lot of, and I'm a former restaurant owner, I've owned bars, and I think that's a lot of the fear that they have is when you go in, the first thing we encounter is they think we're there to sell them merchant services, which nothing could be further from the truth. They seem to fear change, or they're being prospected on a regular basis. So just to make this clear, when you go in, you're going to analyze the menu regardless of what type of fare it is. You're not there to help them create a new menu. You're just going to analyze and streamline the existing menu so it's more profitable based on a variety of different strategies. Is that right?
Exactly. I'm not there to sell them anything. I am going in as a consultant to see what they're already doing and taking what they're already doing and maximizing that profitability, whether it's to change how they do service with all my years in service, I've done front and back of the house. I've ordered just about everything when it comes to inventory. So what are you really doing front and back of the house to make sure that it works, right down to staffing?
That makes sense. We are going to take a short break and we will be right back. Hey everyone, we're back. We're here with Debbi Andrews, food and beverage strategist. During a quick break, Vinny had brought up a few points he wanted to make, including with the vendors and whatnot. Go ahead, Vinny, the floor is yours. That was a good point you made.
So Debbi, we talked about the menu, we talked about, the alcohol and things like that. But when you go in and you're dealing with that restaurant owner, are you looking to change their relationships, or do you work with their existing relationships now?
It's a two-part question, I really think. I think that I want to work with the vendors they have now to maximize what they're doing. Is it whether they're ordering the right quantity to get the best discounts, With our liquor vendors, if you order larger quantities or make promises of larger quantities, sometimes you get a better discount. Are we buying, sometimes I know there's a couple distributors, if you buy the well drinks from them, they'll let you into the high. Otherwise, they're blocked out, right? So it helps with the profitability there with the basics. But sometimes I have to bring in new vendors. Sometimes I have to bring in somebody else to help strategize. I'm not asking them to change their whole world. I'm asking them to look at look at a different side of something else they're already doing. So whether I bring in, you guys in to look at whether the merch services is working for them, are they maximizing on what they're already utilizing? Or do they have issues with, it's all the people they don't want to talk to. So I kind of take on new contract roles. So I'm not changing their contracts. What I'm going to do is I'm going to sit down and talk to their vendors to make sure they're maximizing what they're getting, whether it's down to, hey, they can get deliveries 2 days a week instead of 1 day. So it's not one big order. We have less waste. Or are we maximizing with what we're ordering? But that goes all the way down to even sales and marketing. I am an expert in sales and marketing, but that's not what this is for. I can help lead them to a new marketing team if they're not doing it. I can lead them to a social media person to help initiate what the change is, but I am not going to take over that sales role.
That makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. How competitive is the landscape nowadays?
For me, I'm the only one around Orlando. The landscape for restaurants is huge. So the competitive nature of who we are, especially here in Orlando, is, we want to stay local. Our local mom and pops, this is what we're trying to save. And there's actually new, different styles of the next tier. So to go. So we're talking about to go. Now it's post-COVID. Everybody's still doing to go. Everybody still wants curbside. They still want it. The question is, are they doing it well? One is, are they putting out a menu item that looks the same in the restaurant? Or are they doing a menu to go that's too big, that they cannot put into a box and make it look right and taste right? Right. So it's very hard to do a lava cake to go because it turns into a brownie. Because it's center of the cook, right? So are you putting that on your to-go menu and doing it badly? Or are you putting it in the metal tins where it's like a souffle tin that you can do to go and you don't cook it quite as long, so then the internal cooks while it's traveling? If you do ice cream to go, how are you storing it? How is it getting from A to B? So if you're using a third-party vendor, a national third-party vendor, DoorDash, Uber Eats, are you analyzing what it looks like? Are you calling your guest to go, how did that look when it got there? Are you doing samples and tests to see? Because you only get one shot. If it comes to your house and it looks like crap, it's not going back again. You're not going to do it. You're going to get bad reviews on there and your Yelp's going to go down. But if it comes and it looks great every single time, then that is going to increase. Actually, here in Orlando, they're starting a local co-op. So in September, so instead of doing the big nationals, they're doing a local delivery. So the profitability will change because you won't give as large a piece out to the large nationals that are on in some other city. So they're really starting to change some things outside the box so that we stay very local, but we're also giving local service.
Very cool. Now you're talking about the outside vendors. That's funny you say that, because I think one of the first or second time I tried, I think it's DoorDash. The food got here and it was not a good experience. And I'm looking at it, I'm like, this what I got, this what I expect? I mean, that alone, it would seem like your input would be invaluable for these companies. So that's a fantastic point. I think one of the bigger points too that we're looking at, and we're running into the same issue, is staffing, right? We're expanding pretty quickly and we're having a hard time. Are you seeing the same thing down in Orlando? Are you seeing with the restaurants?
Oh yeah, it's that post-pandemic is really hurting the restaurants that are busy. So there's two good things coming up. One, the incentive is leaving as of June 26th, so everybody will. But it's also increased the pay for those baseline workers. So people are making a little bit more money, which is kind of helping them get back on their feet, which isn't bad. It's hurting the restaurants, but it's kind of like the $10 an hour going into effect early. You know, it was supposed to go into effect in September. It's just going into effect early. So even your teenagers are making $10 an hour, which really, if you look at the base of it, isn't that much money for what you're trying to accomplish. But what I look at as staffing is, are your staff members cross-utilized? Could you use a front person to also help in the back? It's a little bit harder to use a back of the house person to really go into the front of the house, but they're good at other aspects of the front of the house. Are you using maybe your dishwasher to also bust the tables? Are you utilizing maybe one of the kitchen people to expedite, so that that expediter or the person who's in the window getting food runner, let's kind of see if we can't push them out. Are we using those expediters, that line person that pulls the tables, as the food runner? Are the chefs running the food? I mean, there is nothing against a chef or a manager running that food to the table. Actually, it's a better presentation because you know how it's supposed to be placed. You also want to sit there and make sure you do your 2-bite checkbacks to make sure that that is a seamless, amazing dish. You know, you have unfortunate situations with staffing is they're not well trained. You need to take the time to train the staff to go the distance, whether it's to the front of the house or the back of the house. Back of the house, they need pictures of what every plate should look like, and you need to make sure that every plate comes out of that kitchen, whether it's to go or for here, impeccable. Impeccable. The steam should be coming off hot, the cold should be cold, right? But also, is it clean? Silverware is clean. So you want the front of the house. Are they delivering drinks? You may have a shortage of bartenders. Okay, well, service bar, let's change it out. Service bar, let's only make the bartenders pour the spirits and move the mixers and the sodas to the other side and let the servers fill it all the way up, right? So make the servers put the ice in the glasses, make it easy for their bartenders and their service bartenders to get it out. Wine service, beer service, make it so your servers can go back. Trust them to the fact that they're going to pour it and ring it. A server ticket, a guest check that is lower isn't going to help the servers at all. They want those checks to be as high as possible so the percentage goes so they make more money. So if you give them a way to make more money, they're going to go for it. If we went to a restaurant and unfortunately the food was impeccable, the service was so bad, they lost money on us because he couldn't get another round of drinks out to us.
Wow.
He couldn't get dessert. He said, "You want your check, right?" Right? That's just training. We wanted dessert. I was in an Italian restaurant. I wanted to try dessert. I wanted cannolis because they said they made them. So, but by the time we were done, we had no water, no wine, no beer, nothing. And it was an opportunity. I knew they were busy and they were short-staffed, but you can only use that excuse so long.
Yeah.
There was food runners. The first round, the owner brought to us, which was great, but then he forgot about us. So it's almost teaching customer service again and making sure that you utilize everyone. There's no reason why you can't have a host, backwait, and to go all be 2 people. 3 jobs, 2 people.
That makes a lot of sense. And it sounds like to me, you know, it sounds like anybody that's uber successful and their restaurant's packed and they're doing great, they should engage you just to quantify their figures, get some ideas, and continue to grow. And it sounds like anybody that's maybe growing a little slower than they want to, it's not they should engage, they have to engage you, because it sounds like from soup to nuts, from back of the house to front of the house, you've got it all figured out. Let's wrap up this particular episode with a little discussion in terms of how do you charge your clients, your customers? How does the fee structure work so everybody knows? And then you know, give us an idea in terms of how that works for each area that you look at.
Okay, so there's 3 different packages. There's a base package, like we talked about at the beginning, where it's one thing you want to look at. You want to look at to-go. You want to have a discussion about to-go. It is a basic 2-step meeting. It's a first, let's talk about it, and give me your background, and then let me see, right? And I can usually go in and see, let's just say I like to go because it's the biggest problem we have right now. Are they ordering enough containers? Are they putting too many ketchups in a bag? Or are they not portioning out their dressings from a large container? Or are they portioning it out from, you know, are they buying the individual packets? That stuff is expensive And sometimes if you portion out exactly what you need for the day and you have your prep do that or your host do that before you're busy, you save a lot of money because you're not doing waste, right? And those packages, those catch-ups and everything packaged are very expensive. And if one explodes, you got sticky growth. And are you putting 7 catch-ups in a package in a bag that's for, you know, a hamburger, right? So keeping things about it and also asking the questions, right? So asking the questions, are your host team trained when they call in to ask the questions? Do you need ketchup with that? Ketchup, mustard, mayonnaise? So you're not over. It's not like you don't want to overproduce. You want to not waste. So the famous thing is Chinese restaurants. How many times do you get duck sauce, soy sauce? You get thousands of them, and I'm a no sauce person.
Yeah.
So they waste 24 packets with me for 2 of us to eat dinner. I don't put anything on anything.
I never thought about that. That's a really good point.
And it's basic. It's basic. You know, it's a cost that a case of the sauces is probably $50. $50 that you don't have to go through every time automatically helps your profitability.
Yeah.
So then the next level is letting me look at the 6 components. Now this is about a 3-week process. This is 3 weeks of me actually spending time in and out of the restaurant, watching. A lot of it, I don't want them to tell the staff to know who I am if I'm there during business hours. Because what I'm doing is I'm watching the bartenders, I'm watching them pour, I'm watching the service team. How are they wasting time? How are they delivering stuff? Are we using tray service? Are we touching the tops of glasses? Just basic things that kind of gross people out that have been in the industry a long time. Are you wasting time and energy, right? And what does a manager look like on the floor? Is the operator on the floor? Are you touching your guests? You're going to get a great review if the owner comes out and asks how it was and talks to them and gets to know their name, right? But I'm going to watch. But then it's like 3 weeks, give or take, depending on how in-depth they need to go and whether they have the reports I need easy. If they have reports I need, if they have the PMIX, their LBWs and all their inventories electronically, super easy for me to manipulate. If I have to manually go through and go one on this side, a little bit harder to do. So it takes a little bit more time. That's about 3 weeks, 3 to 4 weeks. Then I have a bigger package. The bigger package is more consistent through the year. So I do the first 3 weeks, then I come back in 2 months to make sure that everything's going the way it's going. Then I also help them sit down with their new vendors as well as their new sales team or their marketing team and make sure that their promotion, what they're pushing, is working. And are we getting enough traffic? Then I sit in, so every 3 months I'm in there. So that's a year-long process. So it's a full year of me going in and reanalyzing what's happening to make sure that they're maximizing their profitability on what we put into structure. But if I'm catching something new that maybe could change, like they do a promotion and they do half price appetizers from, 4 to 6. Well, is that working? Is it working? Are you losing your butt? Should we only pick 3 appetizers? Is the kitchen getting slammed and they're not able to produce the appetizers as well as they could? Because it's become very busy, which is great. But can you throw in something else that maybe you put on the menu that's full price that people will still go for, right? So you kind of run that promotion. It's a summer promotion or it's a fall promotion. And are you running, are you changing your menu enough to keep the favorites in place, but also changing it seasonally to make sure that you get everybody's flavors in?
That makes a lot of sense. That makes actually quite a bit of sense. Okay, why don't we? We're going on the just about the amount of time that we have. Why don't we wrap up with you telling everyone, anyone listening, how they can get in touch with you? What's the best way to reach out to you if we do want to talk a little bit about engaging you in your services?
Make It Happen has a Facebook page as well as an Instagram, so you can always reach out to me on that. But also it's basic, an email, andrewsdebbi@gmail.com. Debbie's a little bit different, it's DEBBI. So ANDREWSDEBBI@gmail.com. Best way to find me.
Excellent. Yeah, I had to get used to that. My mom's name is Debbie, DEBBIE. So I had to learn that real quick. Also, all the contact information for Make It Happen will be available at the end of this podcast on the screen for the webinar. And if you do want to contact Debbie, we've had the pleasure of working with her now for a couple of weeks. CG Mineta and our team could not make a stronger recommendation than engaging her. You will not regret it, and your bottom line will certainly be healthier. So thank you. We appreciate your time. This is Dan Covell, my fellow managing partner, Vincent Gargione, for You Can Thank Us Later, the webinar podcast series from CG Mineta. Take care, everyone.
Thank you.